The journey to wealth begins by taking the first step. Fortunately, our guest today has been there from my very first step, literally. I am honored to be speaking with my very own mother, Dr. Joy Spence, Master Blender, J. Ray & Nephew Limited, and Global Brand Ambassador, Appleton Estate. This is Wealth Unlocked. Hi, Mommy. Welcome.
Thank you.
I've never interviewed you before, so I'm very excited. Careful.
This is happening.
You good?
Mm-hmm.
Comfortable?
Yes.
Ready to
fine.
go?
Yes. Ready to roll.
So, Master Blender, tell me very simply, what is a Master Blender?
My role as a master blender is to develop new products for Appleton Estate. And I'm also the global ambassador, where I tour the world spreading the joy of rum, no pun intended.
Sounds very exciting, because I know many people think that all you do is drink all day long, right?
I keep telling people that I do walk a straight line home because most of my work is done using sensory analysis.
And not tasting. Good to know. So in terms of other aspects of your life, so you're excellent at blending rum, but is there any area you think now that you are actually still mastering in life?
I think my biggest challenge at the moment is balancing work and grandma duties. It is a very different experience, and I'm enjoying every moment of it though.
Good, good, good. The little one keeps you busy. My little one keeps you busy. So what many people may not know is that you were actually the first female master blender in the world. Not Jamaica, not the Caribbean, the entire world. So that just highlights how male-dominated an industry you are in. I'm gonna ask you to take your memory back to the early 1980s. You're just stepping into the doors of Ray & Nephew. What's going through your head? And when you were walking into those doors, did you think that you were stepping onto a path of history making and greatness?
I was actually working at Tia Maria as a research chemist, and it was a one-product operation, and I became extremely bored because I have to multitask. I have to be doing so many things at the same time. And so in my moments of boredom, I look across the fence over at J. Ray & Nephew, and I saw people looking happy, tankers rolling in, and everyone very busy. So I took a leap of faith and sent my resume over there. I didn't even physically go over there to deliver the resume.
There was no job opening, you just went?
No job openings. I just said to the excise officer one day, just take this over to J. Ray & Nephew for me. Surprisingly, they called me for an interview, and they told me right up front they had no job openings, but they were so impressed with my resume that they just wanted to have a talk with me. So I went back over quite dejected and said, well, that's destiny for me. And then a few weeks later, I got a call to say, we have created a new position for you, the position of chief chemist, and we want you to modernize the laboratory at J. Ray & Nephew and take it to first world standards. And so I went over there because I saw an opportunity for upward mobility. So I thought now that I would be in the chemistry lab doing all the analyses, testing for the rest of my life. And then a door opened for me when I met the previous master blender, Owen Tuller. And that's when my life changed. He actually did his blending in this little tiny room, all by himself. Nobody was allowed to go in there. And one day I decided I'm gonna knock on the door, because there are only two answers to any question in my life, yes or no. So I knocked on the door and I said, Mr. Tuller, can I really come in to see what you're doing? And he said, sure. So I went in and I realized, here it is, I now can use not just my chemistry skills, but my sensory skills, my creativity for a whole new profession. He taught me everything about rum, and that's when I moved from not even drinking a sip of rum when I joined the company to now appreciating what a complex and beautiful spirit.
So you weren't a rum drinker before starting?
No, because in those days, it was unheard of for women to be drinking rum. Mr. Talano took me under his wings and he said, I'm going to teach you everything about blending, artistry, and how you can create all these amazing flavors that we have in all the rums that we make. And so when he retired in 1997, I was appointed the master blender, and that's when I was the first in Jamaica, because we weren't looking globally at that time. As a matter of fact, my bosses got quite a resistance. You know, men saying woman can't make rum, and how are you going to have a woman making rum? Because we never heard of a woman making rum. And they said to all the males, look, we have the greatest confidence in her, and we know that one day, she will be great. So after about a year, our PR consultant in the UK called us to say his research has shown that there is no other woman as a master blender in the entire spirits world. And this is groundbreaking news for Jamaica and the Caribbean.
1997, Mommy, that was when you made history. We're now in 2022. How many female master blenders are there now, approximately?
Since my appointment, in terms of the rum industry, I think we have had about 8. In whiskey, probably 10. So it's still a male-dominated industry.
That's exactly the point I was getting at. So still heavily male-dominated industry, but you have shattered the glass ceiling. You have forged this amazing path. I'm so proud. You have forged this amazing path for young women and young girls. What advice would you give to them, given your experience and journey?
It is important not to focus on gender. Expand your craft, be passionate about your craft, and remain humble, and you'll be successful.
I'm happy you touched on the gender and not to focus on gender. So you mentioned Owen Tolo, your former mentor. How important is it to just have mentorship, whether it's male, female, and also how important do you think it is to collaborate with males within your field?
I'm a firm believer in mentorship and collaboration, and I collaborate daily with my male counterparts, especially those who have years of experience in the industry. And I'm always learning. And that's a very important thing for everyone to know, that you'll never ever know everything. And you will learn each day as you go along. And so you need to be open to listening and understanding from persons who have had more experience than you in the field. And my technical mentors are all male. And they have been very willing to share all their knowledge with me, which I'm so grateful for.
So it comes back to your previous comments about being bold. As you said, it's either yes or no, so you're going to just go for it.
I'm fearless, and people know that I'm fearless.
I know. I know quite well. Mommy, you know I could not bring you on an NCB Capital Markets program and we not have some form of a conversation about money and wealth. Talk to me about money. Money tends to be an uncomfortable topic for most persons, especially women. What has been your attitude towards money, and is it something you're comfortable discussing?
Well, I'm a very private person, as you know, Tracy, and so I really don't discuss finances outside of the family home. And I have to say that I fall somewhere between a spendthrift and a miser. So I'm caught in the middle. And so I try to balance, my money management as best as I can with what I have available.
What does the concept of wealth mean to you?
First of all, it's not just financial wealth, where you're thinking about budgeting, financial planning, investments. But there is social wealth, and that is a troublemaker. Because a lot of people overextend themselves, buy fancy cars to impress the world, big houses, and then they get into financial difficulties. So you have to balance that one. Then there is time wealth. And I've noticed that most of the young people these days spend so much time trying to create financial wealth that they're not looking at the bigger picture. And last but not least, there is physical wealth, which is all about the mind, body, and soul. So you can only find true happiness if you have a balance between those 4 aspects of wealth.
That's actually a great response, Mommy. I don't even know if I have even thought about it that way. I don't think when most people think about the concept of wealth, they put it in those 4 areas. But if we look at those 4 areas, when did your journey to wealth begin?
My journey to wealth actually started with my adopted mother. She did not complete her high school education, but as you know, Tracy, she was financially savvy. She knew everything about savings, investments, real estate. And after telling us hello when we are meeting and greeting her, the next question is, what is the interest rate at any financial institution? So I was able to understand the principles of financial management and wealth management from my adopted mom, although she didn't have a high school education.
I'm happy that you brought grandma into the mix, and boy, was grandma something else. Yes, I even remember grandma having physical stock certificates, which not many people know, probably even know what that is. But generational wealth or intergenerational wealth is a popular topic or theme right now when we're talking about wealth creation and wealth building. How important do you think it is to build your wealth and pass it on so that it transcends generation after generation, even after you have passed?
As a baby boomer, intergenerational wealth is part of my DNA. My mother, although she had very little, she was able to put aside generational wealth for just not myself, but for her grandchildren. And she also was able to put aside money to take care of herself in her older years of life. Because she kept saying to me, I never ever want to be a burden to you or my grandchildren.
Oh, so that's where you get it from?
Yes. And so she passed the baton on to me. And here I am today, putting aside intergenerational wealth, but I am giving you all the bait, and you are going to do the fishing to continue that legacy and pass it on to your children and grandchildren.
I remember a few weeks ago, it was actually your birthday celebration, and you were talking about your journey to some persons that didn't know about Joy Spence. Surprisingly, there are quite a few people that still don't know about your greatness, but you used a phrase that still resonates with me up to now. You said greatness can come from any circumstance, and you know, you mentioned being adopted, and you told them about that story. But just in terms of your overall journey, have you had any setbacks on this journey, and how do you deal with failure?
So it wasn't smooth sailing, but I use failure as a stepping stone for improvement. And so if I fall to the ground, I just get up, brush off, and move on. And I said, I'm moving on to the next phase. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to get overwhelmed. I just know that there is a positive outcome out of failure.
You are master blender. You are, as you said, global brand ambassador for Appleton Estate. You have received numerous accolades and awards. You've had the recently renovated Appleton Estate Rum Tour named after you. It's called the Joy Spence Appleton Estate Rum Tour. You've had one of your special blends named after you, the Appleton Estate Joy, which sold out in like minutes. How do you do it all? How do you balance? How do you juggle?
You see, I have the skill of multitasking. That is part of, my DNA, that I can do several things at the same time and excelling in everything at the same time. And I'm a planner. Some people might even say I'm a perfectionist because I like to see everything in place and everything premium, especially for Appleton Estate. There are so many stories that when I travel globally and I go to an event and it's just not up to what I would think is premium, and I would go over to them and I said, this is a premium brand, not because it's from Jamaica. We are premium, and this needs to be put there. The floral arrangement needs to be addressed, and we need to have a better presentation for us. And they look at me in shock. And I said, yes, we excel in Jamaica. We're passionate about whatever it is that we're doing.
What are some key principles that you've learned along the way, especially with your multitasking and juggling and raising the bar, shattering the glass ceiling?
My key principles for success for the future generation are honesty, integrity, passion, pragmatism, humility, and act as a sponge for knowledge. And the world is your oyster.
Those key principles are actually a great way, I think, for us to wrap up. It's been an honor and my pleasure to chat with you. I'm usually looking on your interviews, and here I am having the honor of interviewing you. Thank you so much for taking the time. I hope you enjoyed it just as much as me.
Tracy, this has been the proudest moment in my life.